G'day Bomber fans, a bit of a different video from the usual. The other day I saw an article ranking Essendon's 10 best players of the century, and I figured I would join in and do my own, so I did. I've ranked Essendon's best players of the, the century so far, since the year 2000, and now this is judged purely by their impact in the century, so someone like Mark McCurry, for example, won't feature because they did most of their work the decade before, but let's get into it. Actually, before we start, I'm going to rattle off some names that do not feature in the list, or in the 10, just because I know some of you guys will want to see them at least in the conversation. But a few honourable mentions outside the top 10 are Joe Danaher, David Hill, Adam McVie, Sean Wellman, David Zaharakis, Brendan Goddard, Mark Johnson, and probably another 5 or 10 players that I forgot to mention right now. But let's just get into the top 10. Kicking off the 10 with Cale Hooker, one of the most loyal clubmen of the century so far. He was drafted over from WA in the 2007 draft, making his debut late in the first season, and only impressing further from there. The key defender made a name for himself in 2009 and became one of the most reliable defenders in the league not long after. He enjoyed a career best span from 2012 to 2015, playing almost every game and earning All-Australian honours and a club best and fairest right before he was banned for a season in 2016. When he returned, it was in a new position up in the forward line, showing off the versatility we saw in patches back in 2015. He kicked 41 goals for the year, but still moved back into defence the following season, developing into a swingman for then coach John Worsfold to move around if needed. We saw it with some clutch game-winning goals against GWS and Gold Coast. He was for a couple of seasons the break glass in case of emergency player, and stayed that way until his retirement a bit in 2021. Hooker played 219 career games for Essendon from 2008 to 2021. He kicked 122 goals despite being a lockdown key back for the majority of his career. He's played the 24th most games for the club ever. He won a Crichton medal and also featured in the All-Australian team at fullback in a different year to when he won the Crichton. He was one of our key figures during the drug scandal, helping keep the club apart and also rejecting tons of rival interest, even from his home state, to stay a one-club player for the Dons. Hard not to have him here. And next up we have Jason Johnson, a Bomber who arrived at the club in the late 90s. He had only played 15 games before the turn of the millennium, but as soon as the century started, he was an incredible Essendon player, managing to feature in every game of our 2000 premiership winning season. In fact, he was actually our best player to start that season, leading the club tally in the Brownlow up until round 7, showing his importance to the side. Johnson only got better from there though. The following year was his greatest. He was the 2001 Crichton medal winner, along with earning a spot in the All-Australian team for his midfield work. He was genuinely one of the better mids of the early 2000s, known for his gut running and his ability to hit the scoreboard and change a game when needed. By the end of his career, Johnson had played 184 games, 169 of which came in the 21st century. In that time, he kicked 7 goals. He was All-Australian. He won a premiership, won 2 Crichton medals, one in 2001 and the other 4 years later. Johnson was another loyal clubman that deserves a spot on this list. Our first dual All-Australian, and also just about my favourite Essendon player ever, Michael Hurley, one of the good guys in footy. It was impossible to like this guy. You saw that in his last game when the Richmond players got around him after he scored a goal. He was genuinely liked by everyone across the league and respected as one of the very best key defenders in his prime. Hurley was so reliable as a defender. We forget he started as a forward, a really promising one as well. His first 5 seasons, he was up the field kicking 99 goals of his 109 goals, career goals in his first 99 games. Hurley's move to defence was a godsend though. He quickly partnered with Cale Hooker, earning his first All-Australian jacket the year Hooker won the Crichton, and he returned from the ban as one of our best players. He was named All-Australian in 2017 again, which technically means, for us at least, he went back-to-back and continued that good form up until 2020, which was pretty much when we saw the last of prime Hurley. He started suffering injuries, and then in 2021 he went through a grueling recovery from an infection that derailed his career. He missed 2 full seasons, only playing a final game in 2022, and even then he was a shadow of the Hurley we knew. It was a career cut short by freak injuries. He had to play through the drug scandal, missed multiple seasons because of injury. Really, we were robbed of a 250 plus game career. There is every chance his accolades could have been much bigger, and his legacy too, but Essendon fans know prime Hurley was one of the league's very best defenders. And next up is our former captain Dyson Heppell, the first player still active in the AFL, so his legacy could even improve from here technically. As of now, he has the 18th most games played for Essendon, but there is a chance he ends the season up 6 spots. Even as it is now though, he has had a terrific career, being drafted to his boyhood club, winning the Rising Star Award in his first year. He was named All-Australian and earned his Crichton medal just a couple of years after. People forget that at his best, he was genuinely one of the best midfielders in the comp. He came back from the drug ban in 2016 as the club's captain, leading us through a really difficult period and doing so whilst maintaining good form. He wasn't at his best, but he was still averaging averaging well over 20 disposals in all of the full seasons he's played post-drug ban, and that was also the case in 2022 and 2023 when he moved to his new defensive role, a role that he now plays as a squad member and not our captain. He stepped down in 2023 to allow Merritt to take the reins. Heppel will retire as one of our longest serving captains, one of our best draft pickups, and one of our most loyal servants. He is another All-Australian best and fairest winner, but he is one of the only players for Essendon to ever win the Rising Star Award as well. He led us after our darkest period as a club and only gained respect from the footy world because of it. He is everybody's second favourite player. It's hard not to love him. Just missing out on the top 5, I have Scotty Lucas, a cult hero at Essendon. I think his work often goes unnoticed because his career was kind of built around being Matthew Lloyd's partner, but Lucas himself was a fantastic forward, elite level really. He made an impression quickly when he entered the club, kicking 49 goals in just his 3rd season and breaking the half century just a couple of years later in our premiership winning campaign. Lucas was often the partner to Lloyd, but he got his chance in the spotlight a few times while at the club. He won his first Best and Fairest medal in 2003 when he moved down the field, playing an important role in a then struggling Essendon side. He would move back to his preferred forward line late on though, kicking 179 goals in 65 games between 2005 and 2007, winning another Best and Fairest in that time as well. He retired in 2009, having played 270 games for Essendon, the 9th most ever. He kicked 471 goals, an incredible feat considering he moved back to defence. He was inducted into the Essendon Hall of Fame just a few years down the track, which is deserved for one of our best players during our premiership run in 2000. And at number 5 is arguably our best defender ever, Dustin Fletcher. It's hard not to love this guy, just the most durable player you'll ever see. He played until he was 70 years old. I mean, he was one of our best defenders, but he is known for being a part of that exclusive 400 game club. He has the 5th most game played ever, meaning he has the most Essendon games played as well, so he's already earned his spot on the list there. But what this guy did when he cemented his spot in the team was outrageous. In the 21st century, he won a premiership, he won a Crichton, a couple of All-Australians. He did pretty much everything a key defender could ever dream of doing. He had completed football in 2000. It should be noted, by the way, he won the Crichton in the year 2000, the year when we won our flag. Fletcher retired in 2015 at the age of 40, having played in 23 different seasons. And the wild thing about his career that I didn't know until looking into this, he only played 20 plus games 5 times. He had a fair few injury problems, but he still managed to play more footy than just about the whole player database. He is one of our best defenders ever, one of the funnest players to see with ball in hand outside 50. The guy loved to roost a barrel, and he was a fan favourite. Everybody loved him and his Inspector Gadget arms. He is a timeless fullback that you can only wish of having at your team. Just missing out on the podium is Job Watson. He was drafted as a father-son, the son of another one of our best players in Tim Watson, and although he was drafted in 2002, he didn't feature regularly until 2006. Before then, he had only played 13 matches, but that 2006 season was a breakout one. He averaged over 20 disposals from 21 games and never dipped below that average from that point forward. The guy just kept getting better and better. He was a prime midfielder, becoming our captain in the early 2010s, which usually results in the decrease of one form, but he, as captain, was named All-Australian twice. He won the AFLPA Best Captain Award. He won a couple more Crichtons to go with the one he took home in 2009, and he of course won a Brownlow that was eventually taken from him in controversial fashion. No club captain ever really anywhere has had a tougher position at their club, but Job Watson led us with class and professionalism. This guy is one of those rare players that makes a team what it is. When I think of players that make Essendon the club we are, he is on that list. And on the podium is another current player, the last of the video, Zach Merritt, our current captain. He could well go higher by the end of his career. He still has plenty of time left in him, but as it is now, he is right on par with our very best players of the century so far in quite a few areas. Merritt was drafted in 2013 and had already played 20 games by the end of his first season with the club, earning a Rising Star nomination in the process, and by 2016 he was already a Crichton medal winner, but it was only up from there. He earned his first All-Australian jacket the following season and had even started on his leadership arc, becoming the vice captain under Dyson Heppel. Since that point, Merritt has earned 3 more Crichton medals, the 4th most for the club ever. He has grabbed 2 more All-Australian jackets as well, cementing himself as one of the prime mids of the comp, and most recently he's been announced as the captain of the club, taking over from Heppel. He has plenty of time to go, yes, but his current 206 game career is one of skill and hard work paying off. He has been elite from day one at the club, setting the standards on and off the field. At number 2, just missing out, is James Hird. Career as a whole, he would probably be first, but for the 21st century alone, he is second. He was obviously a star star in the 90s, he won Brownlow, he won premierships, and in 2000 he was just as good for a while. In fact, he was our best player for large chunks up until his retirement, even after that face injury that many cite as the downfall of his career. Hurd was a constant in the Essendon dominance narrative when we were at our best. He was All-Australian in 2000, he won a flag, he won the Norm Smith in that 2000 premiership, the only player in this list to do so. In the 21st century, he earned 3 All-Australian jackets to go along with the 2 he won in the 90s. He won 2 of his 5 Crichton medals, he won 3 Anzac Day medals, he was a Jim Steins medal recipient, he was our captain. Hurd is one of our best players of all time, simple as that. His legacy was stained a bit after his coaching stint, but we all know just how imperial this guy was. He played the game in a way that most simply can't do. Hurd is our second best player of the century, but only one could have earned the number 1 spot for me. The best player of the century so far is Matthew Lloyd. I think most would agree, the guy just turned it on. I mean, he was already kicking goals for fun before, but as soon as New Year's hit in 2000, he was a different player. He was immense. He kicked 214 goals in the first 2 seasons of the century. That's ridiculous, and it continued a fantastic run of form for Lloyd. He was Essendon's leading goal kicker for 9 consecutive seasons at one point. He had also earned 4 All-Australian jackets in a row between 98 and 2001. Lloyd kept the scoring going. Even when he was thrown in new roles, he kept scoring. His whole career, he was a prolific goal scorer. His output was really incredible in the early 2000s, though. In the 10 seasons, he only dropped under 40 goals a year twice. That is including a couple ruined by injuries and where he moved to new roles around the ground. He kicked 926 goals in his career, but 681 came in the 2000s from just 189 matches. Lloyd finished his career as Essendon's leading goal scorer ever and the 8th leading goal scorer in the league as a whole. He won multiple premierships, multiple All-Australian jackets, he had 3 Colemans, all in the 2000s, and he was Essendon's leading goal scorer 12 times. He was our captain, a Jim Steins medal recipient. He won Goal of the Year and then Mark of the Year the following season. AFL Hall of Famer. It's an easy choice if you ask me. But that is that. Those are Essendon's 10 best players of the century so far. Let me know what you think down below. How would you change the order around? Like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new, and as always, go Bombers.